Welcome to the course Parenting. Stop telling, start asking questions. In this course, I'm going to share some of the best-in-class coaching techniques and strategies that will make your typical parenting day fun and easier. Every single lesson is full of step-by-step instructions, demonstrations, and examples that will help you to shift you from telling mindset into the coaching, asking questions mindset. I will also share a lot of tips and strategies and how you can change your questions and rephrase your questions that will generate by far more peace and cooperation with your children. I will also shed the light on some of the traditional parenting strategies that are in fact ineffective and do more harm than help for our kids long term. The key to succeed in this course is to practice. It's not enough to just know those strategies. You have to bring them into your real life and use them every single day. Hi, I'm Galina and I'm the founder of Parent Up, and I'm a parenting coach. I've been helping hundreds of parents with a variety of challenges in their parenting daily life. In addition to my professional experience, I have a personal life experience. I have 2 kids of my own, my son and my daughter. You're going to hear a lot of stories about them in this course, and I'm going to use examples with them to demonstrate how some of these best-in-class techniques are working in action. I know, even a typical parenting day that might look good might be a challenge. One day you might feel like you have mastered everything and you know how to implement the strategy and how to have everything under control. But then the next day, everything goes back to square zero. There is something new that your parenting life throws at you, and you have no tools and techniques to handle it. So in this course, I'm going to give you some of the fundamental tools that will allow you to come up with strategies on the go, regardless how old your kids are. So these strategies and these techniques are applicable for kids at any age group and category. I'm very excited to get started with you with this process. So let's get into the first chapter. Welcome to the module number 4. Great parents don't sell, they coach. Part 1, powerful questions. When you connect and coach, you ask a lot of questions. You ask a lot of powerful questions. But not every single question is powerful. And in this section, we're going to talk about what makes them more or less powerful. So let's start from the top. Number 1, powerful questions assume there is an answer. I very often hear parents asking their kids, why did you do it? What were you thinking? If your objective is to make your child feel defensive, guilty, or feel the shame, those are great questions. But if you aim to be a great parent, you want to consider shifting the gears and ask different type of questions that help the child to find their own answers. Number 2, powerful questions trigger a thought process that finds the answers and solutions to the problem. And this is a very important one. A lot of the time, we parents ask a lot of questions to find out all the details, what happens in the past, why was it occurring this way, and etc. We literally spend most of our time discovering something about the past, and we forget about the future. This makes our children feel exhausted and misunderstood. When you coach your kids, you don't want to dwell for too long in the past. You want to collect enough amount of information to know what was going on and help your child to shift into the solution phase and ask the question, what did you learn from this experience and what would you like to do different next time in the future? And number 3, powerful questions will dig deeper under the surface. In the previous module, when we were talking about want and the should model, we discovered that the want place is the most powerful one. And you really want to bring your child through the coaching process into the want space to discover their inner desires and inner abilities. Very recently, I had a very good example. When my son saw me going to the office, he said, "Mom, I don't want you to go." And he started crying. A very classic and very common situation, and I'm pretty sure a lot of parents experience at least once in their life. One thing I would like to highlight over here is that when a person says what they want, they don't actually say what they want. They say what they think will bring them or get them what they want. So in this case, my son actually wanted me to be with him. He wanted to spend the time with me so we can play together. So he didn't necessarily want me to just not go, but he wanted to say, Mom, I want to spend a lot of time together with you. So you really have to dig deeper under the surface to discover what is it what your child really wants. Let's have a look. What are the least or more powerful questions? By the way, I don't want you to get the wrong impression. When I say least powerful questions are the type of questions you're not encouraged to ask, it's still okay to ask them, but I just want you to be mindful that the power that they bring will be less significant compared to you asking different types of questions. So what exactly is at the top of the least powerful questions? It's the questions which and the questions that will yield the answers yes or no. For example, which dress would you like to wear today, blue or red? Are you hungry? As you can see, these type of questions will yield very simple answer or will give you very minimal information which you can't expand on. The second least powerful question is the why question. What exactly is going on with the why questions and why I'm not suggesting the parents to use them very often is because every single time you ask the question why, it puts the people on defense. They feel like they have to explain themselves and give the reasons and justifications. So these questions are extremely sensitive, especially with teenagers when they're seeking their privacy, independence, and want to be treated just like adults. What are the better questions? Who, when, and where? But the best questions in class are the questions what and how. We're going to expand on them in the next sections, so let's continue. Part 2. The two most important questions to ask your kids. I'm going to give you away a very big secret. In order to be a brilliant coaching parent, all you need is to ask these two questions. What do you feel and what do you want? It is also very important to ask these two questions in exactly this sequence. First, the question about your feelings, and then the question about your wants. The feelings and emotions are such an integral piece of being a balanced human being, which is why I'm also creating the course Feel or Not to Feel, which you can sign up when it is available. Let me give you a couple of examples of how these two questions can work for coaching in the moment or coaching in the structured conversations, and how they help to align your kid's mind and the heart. My son has a favorite plush toy, the cat, and he likes to take him everywhere, but often he forgets him at home, and when we're already in the car driving, he asks where he is and he starts crying and having a tantrum. My first question to him will always be, what are you feeling? And his response is, sad. Then I will connect with him using active listening skills and acknowledge his feeling. You're feeling sad because you miss your best friend the cat. You wanted to take him with you, but he is at home right now. He'll usually nod his head through the tears, which will signal to me that the connection is there and he's ready to be coached or move to the solution phase. What do you want to do right now, given that the cat is at home and we're already driving? He will come up with his own solution. It could be, I'll make sure I'll take him next time, or could we listen to a song? Or I would ask if he wants to hear my suggestions so he can choose from a few options. Here's another example with the older kids. Mom, I really can't stand our new teacher of math. I see. What are you feeling about the teacher? I feel very shy and intimidated around him. I hear you feel intimidated about the new teacher. This must be uneasy for you. And what do you want to do about this feeling, given the fact that you will need to come to his class twice a week? Do you notice what happens when you ask these two simple questions? What do you feel and what do you want? Exactly. You connect and you coach. You present yourself as a non-judgmental parent who is there to guide and support the child in finding his own answers. And by the way, you don't take over the driver's seat, and you create this emotionally safe space for your child to be. Part 3. Great parents ask open-ended questions. In this section, I would like to talk to you about how open-ended or closed-ended questions impact your kids. Just a quick reminder, the closed-end questions are the ones where you get the answer yes or no, or where you yield very limited amount of the information. The open-ended questions are the ones where you ask the questions who, where, when, how, and what. I'm going to give you 2 batches of questions so you can compare and get a sense of the energy that they yield when you ask them. The first batch of closed-ended questions. Do you need help? Have you finished your homework yet? Are you going to clean it up? The second batch of questions, in this case, they will be open-ended. What can I do to help you? How much time do you need to finish your homework? What do you want to do about it? What differences did you notice between the batch of questions number 1 and batch of questions number 2? The first batch of questions presume there is a direction where the parent wanted to lead the child towards. It also made the child feel by far more defensive. The second batch of questions had a softer tone, was less judgmental, and by far more empowering to find your own answers. I recommend to parents with young children to use 2 types of questions simultaneously. Start with the open-ended questions and then follow up with the closed-ended questions. Because when the kids are still very young, their brain is not mature yet to be able to come up with his own answers and solutions just yet. But you can build this habit of structuring your questions in the most empowering way. For example, what can I do to help you? Shall we search for your toy together in the living room or in your bedroom? How much time do you need to pack your toys away? Do you need another 5 minutes or 10 minutes? What do you want to do about it? Do you want to clean it now with a towel or with a mop? If you're a parent with older kids, I would suggest you to use the open-ended questions as much as possible. Why? Because when you use your closed-end questions, you're leading, guiding your kids to a particular solution you already have in your mind. But you do want to keep your child at the driver's seat, which is why the open-ended questions become so handy, because your child continues driving in the direction he wants to go, and he gets to find the answers within. Part 4. Change your why questions. In this section, I would like to share another secret with you. It's a very big one. Why questions and how to replace them with something that is more powerful. When you ask why questions, you have to consider 2 perspectives. The person who is asking the why question and the person who is receiving the why question. The person who is asking the why question is seeking for details, information to understand what was going on. The person who receives the why question sees it differently. He sees like he is being attacked or needs to be defensive, explain himself, and ultimately he doesn't like it. What is the better alternative? A better option is to switch your why questions to what questions. For example, why do you keep talking about the situation? You can switch this to, what makes the situation so important for you? Do you sense the difference that there is by far less judgment in the second type of the question? There is another very good reason why the what questions are by far more powerful and have more energy. If you think about our brain, the left side and the right side, the logic and the emotions, the why questions go straight to the left brain, and the what questions go to the right brain that is by far more creative, deeper, and can come up with the more creative answers and the solutions. Let me give you a few examples that will demonstrate the power of replacing why with what. Example number 1. Why did you do that? Versus, oh, I see you in the mood for painting. The floor is for walking, not for painting. What is a better place for you to paint? Example number 2. Why did you do that? I told you not to jump on the sofa. Oh, did you just fall down? Are you okay? Are you feeling hurt? Remember, Mama said that the sofa is for sitting. What's your learning opportunity here? Next time you're in the mood for jumping, what is a better place for you to do that? Example number 3, with all the kids. Why can't you just join us and visit your grandparents? Versus, what is it about visiting your grandparents that makes you not want to join us? Example number 4. I heard from your sister that you were chosen to be the captain of your football team, but you declined. Why? Versus, what were some of your thoughts and feelings when you were chosen to decline to be the football team captain? Part 5. What is better than a how question? I'm going to reveal another secret with you. Change your how questions with what questions. And let me use one of the stories that happened with me and my son to demonstrate the power of what questions. Usually, whenever my son is done with his tantrum, we would sit down and debrief what happens, and I would always ask him the same question: how can I help you when you're in tantrum? How can I help you to feel better? His typical response used to be, just be with me. But technically, being with somebody can mean so many different things for different people. And when I discovered the power of swapping the questions how with what, I discovered a completely different world with my son. Next time when he's finished with his tantrum, I'll ask him a question. What can I do to help you to feel better during and after the tantrum? And he gave me the following answer, which was amazing. I want you to be with me and hug me. And I want you to just sleep for a second to bring me my bottle of water so I can sip it and calm down by myself. Isn't it amazing how much more information I was able to yield by changing the how with what question? So what exactly happens when you swap the two? The how questions go into the head. They try to untangle the mystery of acts. The what questions go into the heart and allow to discover new and creative opportunities and give very specific answers and the steps to solve the problem. Here are a few more examples to demonstrate to you how powerful the swap of how and what questions. For example, if I were to ask you how to get from here to there, the typical answer would be, you just need to get up and walk. But if you were to ask the person, what is required or what is needed for you to move from here to there, the answers will be by far more detailed and specific. You will need to get up, make 6 steps, reach out, and approach the camera with your hands. Next time when your child comes back from home, instead of asking, how was your day? Swap it with a what. What did you enjoy the most at school? What did you enjoy the least at school? Next time, when you're considering asking the question, how long is it going to take you to finish your homework? You can ask, what time do you think you will finish your homework? Do you sense the difference of how much more powerful your questions become when you use the what? Part 6. Questions to develop growth mindset. What is the main purpose of parenting? In order to answer this question, I would like to use a metaphor. In order to eat the fish, you need to catch it and you need to cook it. The purpose of parenting is to support the child in making his free choices and decisions about how to catch that fish and how to cook it. It's not about the parents putting up the fish on the hook on a fishing rod. It's not about putting the fish in the bucket for a child. It's not about parents cooking the fish and putting it in front of them on the table in the plate. It's not about the parents judging whether the way the child has been fishing that fish is right and wrong, and whether they have cooked it correctly. It is about accepting the choices of a child to do this whole process are their choices. When you as a parent start focusing on the choices that the child is making, you're making the biggest transformation of your life. You shift from the fixed mindset to the growth mindset. Have you heard about the concept of fixed and growth mindsets, and do you know what it is? Fixed mindset is when people believe that things are not available in their life, that things are not possible, they are not existent for them, and they can't do it and they can't have it. The growth mindset is the opposite. When people look at everything what happens in their life, whether that's positive or negative, as a learning experience and a learning opportunity. And if they don't have something in their life to think about this, it's just yet. They're learning, they're getting there, and they will soon have it. Growth mindset is extremely powerful, and as a parent, you would like to raise your child with the beliefs based on the growth mindset. Great parents ask questions that focus on their kids' successes, not failures. Build on the kids' strengths and not weaknesses. Trigger moving forward thinking. And are positive, don't make the child feel bad, blamed, or criticized. Let me show you in practice how all these 4 principles work with kids. You will notice that most of these examples are coaching in the moment. Example number 1. My son was playing in the garden and was bitten by an ant. He ran to me in tears. My traditional parenting response could have been, I told you not to touch the ants. They bite. That's blaming and criticizing, not to mention missing empathy and connection. However, great parents would be asking something like this. This must really hurt. Let me see your hands. And after the child calms down, what did you just learn from this experience? Here's a second example. My son has his favorite plush toy, the cat. You probably remember it from the previous section. He takes him everywhere. One day he went to the bathroom and accidentally dropped him to the toilet. Lots of tears, of course. Instead of emphasizing on the error, I have chosen to use this as a learning opportunity, and I asked, next time when you go to the bathroom and want to bring your plush toy cat with you, what will you do differently? His answer was, I'll put him on the floor or next to the sink. Isn't that smart how he cleverly came up with his own solution? A few examples with older kids. When will you start leaving the house on time and stop being late to school? You can revert this to something like this. What can I do to support you in getting up on time and coming to school before the classes begin? Your teenager puts different color clothes in the washing machine together with the whites. Great parents will approach this as a learning opportunity. What have you learned from this experience? When you do the laundry next time, what will you do differently? Bye, I'm off to school. You don't have your helmet on, please put it on. I don't need it. I'm worried about you and the safety on the roads. I trust you, but I don't trust the car drivers. I don't want to put it on. It sounds like you're really not in the mood to put it on, and I'm worried about your safety. We really have a conflict here. Can you think of a solution that we both could accept? What can we agree so we are both happy? Part 7. Controlling and leading questions. When the kids grow up, they occasionally become allergic to parents' questions. Why is that? It's because we parents ask them in a controlling and leading way. So what is it exactly what we do that make our questions leading and controlling? So first of all, we have predefined list of questions that we would like to send and query our children with. Second, when we form an opinion, we immediately create a judgment as soon as we see that the outcome the child has defined for themselves is not exactly what we wished it for. Hence, we start criticizing and judging. And the third point is that we very often wish to have particular result and particular outcome for our children, and we'll land that outcome into the question, leading our kids towards that direction. Kids are very sensitive to leading questions. There are numerous studies that prove and show that the children will be tuning in and how our questions are asked and will start responding in a particular way. And by the way, we all used to be great in asking powerful questions. We all used to have a brilliant skill when we were kids ourselves. Because when the kids are born, they have this natural ability and natural curiosity to query everything that is around them. What is it? Why is it the way it is? Unfortunately, we all lose it by the age of 4, when our parents told us, stop asking all those questions. Our schools or our teachers do not promote the culture of learning and asking powerful questions either, because they are all based on the culture of telling. I personally have never seen any curriculum at schools that include a subject or a topic that will teach our kids how to ask effective questions. Have you? It would be magical if we did have it. That is why, in this section, I would like to spend the time on defining how can we break through this habit of asking controlling and leading questions. I'm going to use a couple of stories and scenarios to illustrate to you how the controlling and leading questions sneak into our parenting life. Also, we will try to transform the situations into something more powerful. Here's story number 1. Your child comes back from school and says that she had a fight with your best friend. Your natural response could be, what do you need in order to make up friends? This question by itself is leading and controlling because it's based on an assumption that your child would want to make up friends again with this person. But what if she doesn't want to be friends with her? What if she has changed her mind and she's got different directions? So in order for you to transform that question or the conversation to something more empowering, honoring the essence of your child, you would want to consider a different question, which could sound like this. What would you like to do about the situation with your friends? So you hear how this question becomes neutral, but at the same time encompasses a solution phase where the child finds something inside of herself, an answer that she would be happy with. Let's have a look at another situation. The child walks over to you and says he needs help with the train tracks. He's been building something and he got frustrated because something was not working out. You walk over into the room and you immediately see what the problem is and you know exactly what the solution is. And you ask a question. How is it going to work if these two train tracks are disconnected? This question itself is very judgmental. You perhaps could ask a different question. What do you need to do in order to connect these two train tracks? It is a better question because it doesn't have the judgment, but it is still leading the child to a solution. You practically give the answer to the problem by asking that question, that the rails have to be connected. So what would be a better option to ask in this situation? It could be something like this. What do you need to do in order to make it work? What else can you think about to make it work? Can you think of any other ideas how you can make it work? Here's one more example for you. Your child comes back home and announces about the decision to stop swim classes. You jump in and ask the question, how is this going to help you to learn how to swim professionally? What do you sense about this question? Exactly, there's a lot of judgment. You could transform this into something more powerful. I see, you have decided to stop your classes. What is it exactly that makes it so important for you to pause your swim classes at the moment? Or what have you seen or heard that brought you to this conclusion and choice? Now, we're going to continue with a couple of practical assignments where you're going to experience the transformation process of not so powerful questions into the new version's powerful ones. Part 8. How to deal with I don't know and I can't. Very often parents come to me seeking for guidance to handle the situations when the child says, I don't know, I can't, and it's just too hard. You need to know
that when you hear your child saying those things, it means they're sliding into the fixed mindset. And I'm going to give you a tool on how to handle it effectively. I personally love the moments like this because they become brilliant opportunities for coaching in the moment. And you can also turn these hard moments into the aha moments and bright insight moments. One thing I would like to explain to you and the reasons why children, just like adults, move into I don't know land and I cannot land. Because these two answers are safe. They keep people protected from trying new things, challenging things, because deep inside of them there is the fear of failing, the fear of losing. Sometimes people also might not like the answer, and they also know that the moment they find this answer they will have to do something about it and might not be simply ready to do that, again because they have a fear of losing or failing. If your child suddenly starts saying I can't ahead of a very big competition, you should be aware that this is an indication of them shifting into the fear space. The fear of failing, the fear of losing, the fear of not meeting someone's expectation, an expectation of a parent or a coach. With smaller kids, this could present itself in a rather innocent scenarios and situations. For example, practicing the scissor cuts and using this new skill on the paper. I remember my son coming over almost with tears and telling me, Mom, I can't cut this paper. Just be aware when you hear your children saying I can't and I don't know, is an indication that there's got something new ahead of them that could be greater than them at this moment. When you're presented with challenges like this, one tool that could become such a magical wand for you, and it's called incisive questions. What is an incisive question? It is a type of question that is constructed in a way that first of all takes the child back to the place where he feels very confident, something that he's very familiar with. Second, it returns the trust in himself and herself, and the child believes in his own capabilities. It's the type of question that opens up the door of possibilities and invites the child to bypass the limits and believe whatever they're holding against themselves. And ultimately, incisive questions build and develop growth mindsets. Here are some of the examples of incisive questions in case your child is stuck in the I don't know space. If you were to pretend to know, what would it be? What if you secretly knew the answer? If you had a magic wand, what would it be? If you were to wrap Aladdin's lamp, what would be the answer? If your child is stuck in the I can't space, you could use some of the following questions. If you were a Superman, what would you do? Or if your child is fond of any other heroes, you could use those names too. If you were mom or dad, what would you do? If you were to call your best friend and ask for help, what would she say? Part 9. Great parents ask incisive questions. Here are a few things that you need to know in order to become a master of incisive questions. Every incisive question consists of 2 parts. Part 1 bypasses the limiting belief or something that your child is struggling with or is reluctant to try out. The second part is about you inviting a new way of thinking, inviting a new possibility, and open up the door of possibilities for your child to consider something they haven't even thought of before. I'm going to use an example of a superhero to demonstrate how these 2 parts come together. My son is a big fan of Paw Patrols. His favorite character is Rocky. Whenever he is finding something difficult and challenging and comes to me asking for help, I would ask him a question. If you were Rocky, how would you approach it? How would you do it? You see, the first piece is about the hero, It's the one that bypasses the limits and belief and makes the child think like, I can do like my hero. And the second part invites a consideration that it is possible to do what you're trying to do, and you might be finding it hard at the moment. Let me show you another example how it works in practice. A couple of months ago, my son started asking to have ice cream every day. I tried all sort of logical explanations that it's not good, the sugar bugs, it's painful for the tummy if you're going to eat it too often. I was again acting from the fear place. And when I realized that no logic was working, I knew it was time to start using the incisive questions. So next time when he walked over and said, "Mom, I want ice cream," I told him, "Can you imagine you can have all the ice cream in the world and you can eat it every day?" And I can immediately see his eyes brighten up and his eyes sparkling. And ask him a question. So if you had all the ice cream in the world, which flavor would that be? "Chocolate," he says. "And how would you eat it? Would you have it in a cup or would you eat it in the cone?" He said, "I would love it in the cone." And I can see how his imagination started playing in his head. Can you imagine if all your ice cream starts melting? What are you going to do? Where are you going to keep all the ice cream in the world? And then after 4 or 5 questions, he got carried away with his imagination and his pretend world that he moved back to his room and started painting his ideal ice cream planet. He even forgot about the fact that he wanted ice cream in the first place. Such a powerful and wonderful and fun way of directing your children to making something that they will be happy with. I'm going to use another example over here. You know how kids find it very difficult to wait for something that they want so much, and they want it right here, right now, that occasionally even go to the tantrums? Birthdays is one of those things. When the kids ask, "Is it my birthday today?" and you still have to tell them it's another couple of months to wait, and they get very sad and upset, this is a great opportunity to use incisive questions. How? You can tell them, "If it was your birthday today, who would you invite for your party? What would you like to do during the party? What kind of games would you like to play? How would you want to decorate your room?" And just take your child into the journey of imagining the ideal birthday. The great bonus of doing it this way is that you get to know their wishes, and you can use those ideas to create their beautiful and most ideal birthday party when the time is there. I don't knows are very big and very popular with the teenagers, but they can mean so many different things. They could mean, "I really don't know the answer," or "nobody asked me before," or "I really don't want to talk about this and I'm not in the mood to talk about this." And parents feel very frustrated when they can't break through this "I don't know's" will. Incisive questions can become so handy to tackle that. Here are a couple of options or examples for you to consider. What would you like to have for dinner? I don't know. Well, if you were to give me an approximate answer and the time, when would that be? Another example. How would you like to solve this problem? I don't know. I understand that you might not know all the answer, but I'm sure you might have some ideas or some bits and pieces that you already know. What are they? Would you like to share? And one more example for you. What would you like to do when we go to visit grandparents? I don't know. I understand that you don't know. And if you were me, what question would you suggest me to ask to get a different answer that is not "I don't know"? So I hope you got a very good sense of what the incisive questions are, how to build them, and how to use them with your kids. Now it's time to practice.